The following is a conversation with Pat Miletich, who is the co-host of The Conspiracy Farm with Jeffrey Wilson, and who is also pretty well known for being on the Joe Rogan podcast as well, more specifically Joe Rogan's MMA podcast series. In this episode, Pat, Camden, and myself touch on a handful of different topics, including what's going on in the world now as it pertains to COVID, obviously, certain geopolitical affairs. We ask his perspective on extraterrestrials and how his perspective has honestly changed in the last handful of months, even compared to about a year ago. So I really suggest you listen or watch all of it for as long as you can, because it really is a very, very informative and interesting perception to have, particularly because Mr. Miletich was also at the alleged insurrection January 6th and things like that. Let me make it very clear, he was not a part of it. However, he obviously was able to provide some very interesting perspectives that the media obviously cannot or will not. So without further ado, without having to hear too much of my voice, please enjoy. Cheers. All right, so without further ado, welcome back. Pat Miletich here with the Conspiracy Farm. And again, would like to thank you so much for coming back on, sir. I think it's been probably about 7 or 8 months since we've last had you on, and a lot's happened. So first off, thank you so much for coming back.
Hey, no problem. I mean, did any of what we talked about, because I do a lot of podcasts, so I'm not exactly sure. I know the subject matter in general, what we talked about, but did a lot of the things we talked about basically end up coming true?
Basically, we talked about the chip manufacturers, and that seems to be a big problem in the States now, specifically with, the 4x4 truck, the Fords and the Chevys and all that. Mm-hmm. And it seems like the mainstream media is trying to distance itself from that. But one of the things you stressed the most was the chip manufacturing plant. Is there any way you could touch up on that a little bit, if possible?
Well, one of the, there is the main manufacturing plant for those chips, those semiconductors are still in Taiwan. There is a branch of it in Arizona. But, look, there could be an over excess of those microchips, to be honest with you, and they would be withholding them because of the war on, what they consider gas guzzlers, big trucks and stuff like that. That's, the global alarmists are doing their best, with the pipelines being shut down and a lot of other things happening around the world. This is absolutely a war on oil in general, and it's a war against mankind, just to limit us. They're going to, do the whole climate emergency, dangerous levels of CO2, right, all that sort of stuff, and then start rationing fuel, and it's a many-pronged attack that they're undertaking here.
Do you think the big oil guys are going to end up on top? Because it seems like you said, there's that battle right now of the kind of like the old guard versus, the new guard in terms of cryptos, quantum computing, electric cars, all that.
Well, here's the thing. A lot of the oil tycoons have divested themselves of their own stock and gone towards green energy. So that should tell you where they're headed. So, we'll see. We'll see as this progresses, what the citizenry is willing to put up with, right?
Right. And what do you think with regards to what's going on in Ukraine right now, in terms of like very secretly, Biden changing things around, or maybe not him, but the Pentagon and Russia making counter moves and sending tanks to the border and things like that?
Well, yeah, that's a little bit of a dangerous situation over there. We have always talked in terms of nations and alliances, allies and enemies, right?
Right.
And with this globalist movement, the giant global corporations, where people would think the giants, pharmaceutical companies, technology companies, but you have to go even above that and understand, the vanguards of the world, BlackRock, some of these other companies that are not only invested in everything that controls all the media, that controls big pharma, technology, and a lot of other sectors. BlackRock and Vanguard are the two of the biggest investors in each other. They hold stock in each other. So this is one giant incestuous, relationship that they all have, and government is beholden to those giant groups like Vanguard and not just the pharmaceutical companies, which donate massive amounts of money to politicians on both sides of the aisle. I mean, Big Pharma will spend this year $6.5 billion in television advertising, around $5 billion in radio advertising, and upwards of $21 billion in digital advertising. And so that the message that comes out of, look, if I'm the guy that runs CNN or Fox News or whatever it is,
Yeah.
And I'm getting that much money, that's keeping the lights on, that's paying all my bills, that's paying all my employees, including the exorbitant amount of money that desk jockeys at stations like that get, you're going to toe the line most likely, right? So it's not only maybe being evil. I can't say that they're all necessarily evil, but they're certainly greedy and they have children to feed. Right. So that's something that you have to take into consideration, as well as, Big Pharma and many other corporations prop up the CDC. They prop up the World Health Organization, which are both nonprofit organizations. But somehow the head of the CDC, Anthony Fauci, is able to stand at a podium next to the president of the United States and tell us that we're all going to die if we don't wear masks. Right. So that tells you how corrupt all of this is. And I think a lot of people are waking up, but it's, roughly from the people that I've talked to, roughly 20% of the population has gotten the injection, and everybody else is telling them, nope, not doing it. And we'll see, come this winter, how badly those people, how bad their immune systems were degraded by that injection when flu season arrives.
What are your, if you're comfortable explaining it, what are your thoughts on, and we can go fully open here, what are your thoughts on the vaccine and the overall, the very suspicious way that they seem to be pushing it? They're $1 million prizes for people who take the vaccine, that kind of stuff. What do you think when you see this?
Well, that tells me how desperate they're becoming to get people to get it, right? Free donuts, free beer, free pot, free, lottery tickets, all this other stuff. That tells me that a lot more than people thought are awake and not getting the injection, right? And having movie stars and musical stars and all these other people, getting injections on camera and everything else. God knows how much they're paying those people, and whether it's even a real injection. You know what I mean? And my buddy Jason Barmas. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Yep.
Okay, so Jason Barmas, he's had his YouTube page knocked down a couple times. He's had a lot of warnings and stuff like that. He's switched from saying injection to the word boop boop.
And don't tell. Did it work?
Did you get the boop boop? And it's helped. It's helped, I guess. So.
Oh my God, that's because it probably gets around the algorithm, right?
Right. So that's but we're dealing with some really, really greedy, very obviously some pretty powerful people. So it's you got to do what you got to do, because when they're the ones that control the algorithm, boy, I'd love some. I hate to say it, but don't you wish that all the expert hackers in the world could go in and reset all the algorithms to shut them down when they say things like build back better.
Yeah. Speaking of build back better and all that, what do you think of I guess Biden, the administration overall? Because last time we spoke, I think Biden had just become president, I believe. But what do you think now, looking 6-7 months into all this?
Well, we knew what was going to happen. We knew that he's just a lapdog, and as it turns out.
So if you could just, what your thoughts are on the Biden administration and what's happening now, not just COVID, but in terms of, the aura of, trying to, bring back a better America and all that doesn't really seem to be going through in reality compared to what the media is trying to show, right?
Right. Well, we know in reading UN Agenda 21 and UN Agenda 30 documents, that it was all going to start in 2021, and they're implementing, you know, I mean, think about the edicts that are being handed down, the lunacy, you know, with, you know, people have to be waking up and saying to themselves, wait a minute, it was 2 minutes to flatten the curve. And then it was, just a couple more months, you know, we want to be sure. And then it's no masks. Yes, you need to wear masks, no masks. You know, it's all by design to keep people confused. You never get your footing. You know, it's the same thing as a physical fight. If I allow someone to set their feet and unload with power, you know, that's a dangerous fighter. But that's why I keep them moving. That's why I keep them circling. I create angles of attack when they're off balance, when they're moving, so that they're not set to attack me back. And it's the same thing when you're doing a psychological operation. It's to damage our children. It's to damage us. It's, you know, all of it is just an erosion of confidence of the citizenry. So that's what it's all about. But, you know, in terms of, you know, Trump was pushing the vaccine as well. He didn't fire Fauci. You know, he brought in BlackRock to oversee our Federal Reserve and Treasury. So people have to understand that, I mean, it's very likely, in my mind, you know, given the signs that I've seen, that, sorry, I got a cop car going past me.
No problem.
Very likely that Trump's just part of the act, right? So, you know, you've got half the nation cheering for him and the other half of the nation, you know, supposedly for Biden. And it just keeps everybody divided, confused on something as simple as skin color, right? So yeah. I'm supposed to somehow dislike somebody or not trust somebody because of their skin color that's different than mine, or a different race or religion, or now it's mask and no mask, vaccine, no vaccine. And the ultimate, you know, the ultimate divider is, you know, did you get the boop boop or not, right?
Yeah.
and you know, that's how they create the yellow star for the people that have not gotten the injection. You know, if you don't have this, you know, you can't go here. You got to sit in this section of the stadium. It's segregation, and it's creating a second class, a second tier of citizens out of something that is, you know, you have to understand, we're surrounded by people who have been conditioned to be afraid of healthy people. That's right. That's how mind-fucked citizenry are. That they're
well, sorry, are you referring to the, like, in terms of just, you know, going out for a bite to eat? It's, you know, McDonald's. Are you just the lifestyle you're saying?
Everything. I mean, eventually you're not going to be able to, what their goal is that anybody who has not got the boop boop,
yeah,
will not be able to partake in society. They will isolate you. They will make you a second-class citizen. You know, I mean, in places like India, they're making them wear signs around their necks with a skull and crossbone on it, like you're some sort of toxic, you know, incubator of a deadly virus, which is not the case. It's not the case at all. So, you know, so I had George Pardos, who's a scientist, on my Instagram live, and I haven't since been able to do a live video because they removed it and now have stopped me from doing live videos.
If you don't mind me asking, what did he say on that live stream?
Well, here, I'll tell you here. So what I tell people now is I don't even argue with people anymore, because they've been fooled by the media so much and conditioned by the media so much that they don't objectively look at information that they're being told anymore. They just automatically allow it to bypass their objective thinking and seed itself as a belief in their lizard brain. And once it's seeded as a belief, you can't get it out of them. And they will not even look at data and facts anymore, to the contrary. And it could be, to us, very simple common sense facts and data, right? And they won't look at it. So I understand this, and now I know, okay, I'm just going to ask people questions that will make them go and look, right? I want them to go and look on their own. And if they search for it with an open mind and they find the information, then they will have discovered it, and then they can change their belief system. But I don't do that. I don't get in the arguments anymore. So that's a big problem. But what George said, and I did this, I asked questions of George so that he could clarify from his scientific level of knowledge. And he's an expert in mitochondrial and cellular damage when toxins enter the body.
Right.
So I said, George, what percentage of the human body is human cells as opposed to bacterial and viral cells? And he said, we're about 1/10 human cells and 9/10 bacteria and viral cells. And so I got that established. Then I said, can a viral cell migrate from, say, a respiratory system to, say, your digestive system or your liver or your kidneys? And he said, no, viral cells are specific to the organ and the part of the body that they're in. So they can't migrate even inside of your body to another part of the body. And I said, okay. So is it my understanding then, what is a viral cell's job? He said, well, they have numerous jobs, but when a toxin or any kind of bad bacteria enter the body, the viral cell's job is to bond with those toxins, right, and then drag that toxin out of the body through your pores, your breath, your feces, and your urine. I said, so when people get injected with whatever they're being injected with, yeah, we'll just call it a toxin. Their viral cells are bonding with that toxin, and then it's shedding out of their skin and their breath and everything. And that is what's getting other people sick and making the numbers go back up. And he said, yes, that's what's happening. So whenever these numbers and these spikes happen, it's coming from, and I know a lot of people that have been exposed, and we've heard the time and time again, people that have gone to visit their family and their family members got injected and then they got sick. And right. From the people shedding on them, and women having horrible menstrual cycles, that women that have been in menopause for years and suddenly starting to bleed again and blood clots coming out of them. Young girls that in no way, shape, or form should be starting their periods. All kinds of women and having serious health issues, and now acquiring cancers, breast cancers, ovarian cancers, uterus cancer. And just as we presumed that this was a depopulation event, well, it's obvious that they're ruining the reproductive systems of an awful lot of women. They're saying it's settling in the testicles of men.
I've heard that too. Yeah.
So that's the most benign that we can hope for right now, because it's showing itself. It's flat out. It's happening. We know it's happening. We know that's a fact. What happens when this flu season comes? How are the immune systems of those who have been injected with this? From the research I've done and people I've talked to, scientists say that their immune system is going to be pretty compromised. So what happens when the flu season arrives? Are people going to start dropping like flies? But so, and I contend when I look back through everything, that they've been we know, look, bioweapons labs have existed for a long, long time.
Yeah.
How long have they been releasing weaponized virus on us? I mean, I'd like to get Freedom of Information Act's documents on, Anthony Fauci and the rest of them on the AIDS, HIV epidemic.
This is back in, you're talking back in the 80s, right?
Back in the 80s when Fauci was all part of that bullshit. So, I want to know. And, people are talking about politicians starting these. I'm introducing a bill, the Fire Anthony Fauci bill.
Yeah.
And you go, wait a minute, fire? How about prosecute for crimes against humanity and the rest of the people up the chain who sold us this bullshit?
Right.
All the way up to the CEOs and board members of big pharmaceutical companies.
Right.
These people need to be tried in human rights courts and held accountable for what they've done, because the massive numbers of suicides, the overdoses, just everything, the unraveling of families and everything else that they've done, they need to be held accountable for.
100%. Now, speaking of which, since we're on that train of thought there, we had spoke a handful of months ago about, you had actually said specifically that you were pretty confident that the virus did not originate naturally from bats, and it turns out that you ended up being correct. Do you is there anything between then and now in the last 5-6 months where not just you've been vindicated, but anything that made you go, holy shit, I didn't think it was, this bad, or something like that?
Well, look, I knew how bad it was going to be, and I knew that they were going to come out with the so-called vaccine that would be the next level of the attack, right? Because the initial COVID only accounted for 5 to 6% of the deaths of the people they said died of it, right? So we know it was a respiratory illness that you know it wasn't, and we said from the very beginning, the numbers do not merit the response, right? It
Right.
absolutely does not merit the response. And but the fact that I'm seeing it all happen, in front of me, when I knew about this, I knew when it was going to happen. I knew when the initial asymmetrical warfare would start, in the spring of 2020. But, for all these months of walking around and having people wearing masks and telling me I've got to put a mask on, and me telling them to, go kick rocks. It's this whole division and the hatred that those who have been scared into believing these people.
Right.
They're just like the mindset for me is, I care about my children's freedom, and I care about my country, and I care about my fellow citizens. I tried to tell them because of that concern. On the other hand, these people are so afraid that they have hatred for me, a guy like me. I've gotten plenty of hate, over these months about it, right? But that hatred gets turned up to a level of late 1930s Germany hatred for the Jewish citizens, as soon as people start getting very, very ill, as we move forward in time, right? And they're going to blame us, and they're going to talk about, off to the isolation camps with you and everything else. Well, that's where we all have to stand our ground and not let the media dictate this anymore, the narrative, right? So the unity of the unwanted, which is a collection of a lot of the podcasters anyway around the world doing shows. And have you guys been on there yet?
I've been on. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, that's our ability to spread the word and to stand as a group of independent, I guess, we're independent media people. We've been certainly proven true what we've been saying for a long time, that we're actually the accurate ones, and people are starting to catch on. And, I'm happy to say that American mainstream media people are coming out and admitting that they've been, they're not able to report the truth.
Yeah.
They're told, to toe the line. And so everybody's starting to realize that, yeah, we are being lied to, right? And so, we can hope that reaches a number of people that overwhelms these people. And their releasing of Fauci's emails was kind of like, well, we can't hold this information back anymore. People are starting to get really pissed off, and it's like these small admissions and potentially throwing Fauci to the wolves, or even a Bill Gates to the wolves, which Bill Gates, as wealthy as he is, means nothing to the sharks above him, right?
I agree, Phil. If you don't mind me asking, if you could, in your perspective, who would be the sharks above Gates? I mean, because there's a lot of debate about that, right? I mean, not to say there's one or two guys. I'm sure there's much more than that. But would you say it's the Rothschilds, that level, or there's
well, certainly the Rothschilds, the Wahlbergs in Sweden, other places, are Switzerland, and there's about 150 families that control the planet. So, those are the people that are responsible. And, that's the thing. If the world was rid of those people,
yeah.
do you realize how much peace there would be on Earth?
Also, I mean, to be honest with you, the not just that as well, but industry that, like, the oil industry, big pharma, would be devalued overnight.
Sure.
It
Yeah,
would be, I
absolutely.
mean, you'd have so much of that. But speaking of which, I wanted to get your perspective on what recently happened in Israel, sorry, with on the Gaza Strip there. Do you see that as more of a distraction? Or I mean, a lot of people said that was, Netanyahu just trying to, hold on to power by saying, okay, we got to postpone the election and my corruption trial because look what's happening over here. Do you see it bigger than much more bigger than just a distraction? Or
It's just a distraction. And I mean, look, think of, you know, the people of Israel are not the problem. The people that run Israel and run the world are the problem, right?
right,
Um,
right,
when you talk about Zionism, you talk about Christians, you talk about anybody from any religion that's at the top that runs the world. In the Catholic religion, the Black Pope, all these people, they're all part of one religion in my mind, and it's not any religion that worships God. You
right,
know,
right.
it's if you know what I mean. So, and I contend that these people are not people at all. You heard Joe Rogan say it the other day that they're not even real humans. He's
Yeah,
right. He's right. These people are not humans. Don't do this kind of shit to other human beings.
right,
Right? They don't wake up every day planning to destroy the human population or wage war against innocent nations, right?
right.
That's not what human beings do. And I mean, it's biblical as well. I mean, God flat out said, and Jesus flat out said that Satan was given control of the planet. Whether Satan is a fallen angel or a freaking alien, I
It-
don't know. But I can tell you that these people that are doing this to us are not human. And the quicker everybody wakes up to that and understands that and isn't obedient, the quicker this shit gets over with and we can deal with these people.
Right. Now, speaking of which, what do you think of what's been going on? And by the way, Camden, if you want to jump in, by all means, let me know or let us know. But what do you think has been going on with regards to the crypto world and all that quantum computing? Do you think that whole thing of it's bad for the environment or it outputs more energy than a country consumes and things like that? Do you think that's nonsense, or do you think the whole crypto thing is sort of like what's happening with oil? There's the transition against the gold standard. Some are fighting it, some are going with it.
Well, look, I've gone into a crypto mining facility. Have you ever been in one?
No, what's it like in there?
Well, number one, when you walk in, it sounds like 10 jet engines,
Holy crap!
and it has to be. I mean, the size of the the size of the HVAC system to keep it air conditioned enough is literally the size of like two semi tractor trailers. Um,
Wow.
it's a massive system, and yeah, it's using a huge amount of energy. But look, the Byzantine Empire, when they weren't going to war and all of that sort of stuff, their monetary system stayed strong for many, many, many years. They didn't devalue their currency; they kept it gold standard, and that was just the way it was, and it didn't get devalued. Um, this whole combination of pushing to, digital currency is, look, it's to track us, it's to take money from us, it's to fine us whenever they want if we speak out against anything that they're doing. We
Right.
run a red light, whatever, they can just automatically zap money out of your account. They can tax you anytime, any way that they want. This is about control, and so that's the way I look at it. I'm not for nor against cryptocurrency if it's decentralized.
Right.
Right? If it's decentralized and it's truly for the people, by the people, for the people, then it makes sense. And I'm not anti-government. You have to have a certain level of government, but the level of control that governments have brought themselves to, and the stuff that they're starting to do to citizens around the world, I mean, they're unplugging their cell phones. They're taking their ability to speak out, to take part in society, to do anything by doing this sort of thing. And this is happening to your neighbors. And if you're a person who is disenfranchised, say, with the right or the left, it doesn't matter what you think. This is going to happen to you, and it's going to happen to your children. And if you want that for your children, some form of slavery, a digital slavery, you're sick. You're sick in the head that you would even remotely want that for your child.
Right. No, exactly. Camden, you wanted to jump in?
Yeah, I did. So loved your points about crypto because that really is already where it's heading, right? We see in China, they've got this social credit system already set up where like you smoke a cigarette on the bus, by the time you get off, you've already been deducted money out of your account. You've already been deducted your social credit score, which like, you know, limits where you can travel, where you can go to school, all those things. Absolutely.
Yep.
Um, the the thing that it's kind of a speculative take, and I want your take on it that I have. Blockchain is very, very interesting to me as a concept because even decentralized cryptocurrencies use what is a blockchain. So now, if you extrapolate what crypto could become, you say you start getting paid in from your job the same way you get direct deposit you would now, right? Blockchain is touted as something that is, you know, the most secure. No one can hack it. No one that you don't want in it can hack it. But as soon as you give your job your access to your blockchain to pay you in that crypto, whatever it is, they kind of now have access to it, right? They can see if you buy cigarettes, they can see if you buy drugs, they can see if you go buy hookers, because that's like literally they just have access to it.
Right.
And so in that kind of total control mechanism, they can widen their reach for like punishment, that like literally fire you for something you definitely did off the clock and outside the job kind of thing.
Right.
But the concept of blockchain, they've got everyone really excited about it, and I want your take on this specifically. They've got, you know, QAnon people really excited about blockchain because, you know, the audits, the NSA has the blockchains. They've got the crypto world and financial markets really excited about blockchain because, you know, the it's secure, blah blah blah, whatever. They've got the social credit score system. So blockchain is kind of being really, really hyped up. And it seems to me that as soon as vaccine passports, you even have the left, I should say, like really excited about vaccine biometric authenticity passports and blockchain based.
Well, I could very quickly, the country that I'm in, Trudeau is more than happy to put those in.
Yeah, absolutely. So in giving people this digital copy of themselves in a blockchain, this digital like separate version of them that is them fully in ones and zeros, that dystopian, I should say, like materialism, world-based, nothing spiritual, esoteric ever, like they're kind of forcing it to a head, aren't they? Right?
Well, I mean, look, I'm no computer specialist, but
okay.
I'm lucky to, in a group that meets every week here in my hometown, we have literally a couple of the best computer guys you could ever have, who come, and they built us a separate server where we're going to be putting all of our information.
I like that.
Wow.
And they're also able to do phones that are encrypted. You know, that, you know, they might be able to find out who you're talking to, but it's encrypted to where they don't know what you're saying.
Right.
You know, and you know, all of that stuff for the social point system. But as far as blockchain, you know, this is something that these guys talk about, that it is a good thing if you keep it protected from the things that you're talking about.
Right.
You know, if you're able to do that, keep it out of the hands of your employer and everything else. And so they're really, in a way, you can already see it happening where, you know, parallel societies are being built. Mm-hmm. People are preparing in that way, and whether it's barter systems, whether it's people that, you know, will still take, you know, a hard form of currency that is still valuable. You know, hey, you want me to teach you how to defend yourself from all these lunatics that are, you know, crimes exploded everywhere.
Right.
You know, yeah, I'll take 5.56 ammo as compensation, or I'll take gold, or I'll take this, or I'll take that, whatever. And that's stuff that's going to happen.
Do you see that happening over the next, say, like 5, 10, 15 years, where there really is going to be a division, not just in America, but in the world? They say the number to really make a difference is like the 30 to 60 million or more. Generally, they say, for an actual, you know, like rebellion against the system. Do you see that happening anytime soon?
Well, look, in terms of a rebellion of just not taking part, it's going to happen. I mean, there's no other way. So that's coming. God forbid this thing turns violent, but the way they can bring those that fear all of these imaginary, the boogeyman, we're one news cycle away from me being attacked walking into a grocery store for not wearing a mask or not having an injection passport, right?
That's a good point. Very good point.
One thing that and this might freak you guys out a little bit, is, I've been collecting, and I thought for a while I was the one going crazy, but it wasn't me. It was a lot of people, they so-called light workers, have been kind of collecting around me. And it's very interesting how this has all happened. And it's happened over a period of years. A person that I'm friends with said, there's something about you. I want to get your numbers from you. And I'm like, numbers? What are you talking about? She said, well, the world's foremost or American, one of the foremost numerology experts, I think, needs to look at your numbers. There's something about you. And I said, okay.
So you mean like life path numbers, those kinds of things?
Just all my numbers, birth date, time of birth, all that sort of stuff, right? So anyway, I think a month went by or whatever it was, and my friend contacted me and said, this gentleman would normally just send you a packet on you, but he said he has to meet with you in person. And so I said, okay, no problem. And so we met in person. We had breakfast together, and he had something this thick on my life, basically. And I'm never a believer in any of this stuff. And he goes through the beginning, my life as a child and stuff that nobody could have ever known, stuff I've never talked about. And he was going through it.
Sorry, Pat, just curious, brother, before you go on, did it blow your mind when this person was saying these things that you're like, what the hell? I've never told anybody, and they know this?
Yeah. But later on, it freaked me out a little more. But so anyway, he got to my adult life, and these are some of the things that you're going through and some transitions and that he said, but here's the thing that is very important for you to understand. He said, I've done, 17 or 27,000 of these reports. I've done this for many decades. And he said, you're only the second ace of spades I've ever come across. And this is not something that I talk about on podcasts. And so anyway, I said, ace of spades, what is that? And he said, that means you're a wizard. And I said, what the hell is a wizard? And he goes, you're meant to educate people. You're a teacher. And I'm thinking, okay, mixed martial arts. I train law enforcement. I train military, whatever. And he goes, no. He goes, there's something much bigger coming that you're going to have knowledge of, and you're going to have to educate people about it, right?
Right.
And I went, okay. And he goes, and because of this knowledge, you're going to have dark forces come against you. Which I've had all kinds of crazy shit happen to me. Lose a job because a guy wrote lies about me on the internet, wrote a false story about me on the January 6th events at Washington, D.C. I've had all kinds of tumultuous things happen in my life. And I now look back and recognize what it is. And so, but a lot of these types of people have been kind of just appearing in my life. And it's very interesting. It's almost like an army is being built of people that know exactly what this is about, right? And so it's a very interesting time that we're entering into. With I can see into the future generally pretty easily, and so we just people need to prepare, for what's to come, no matter what it is. We've only got one life, make the best of it.
Right.
Love the people that love us, and help the people that we can help, and the people that aren't going to listen, you just can't you can't worry about it. You got to let them go, right? You got to let all that stuff go and just move on. So
exactly. Before Camden, before we get to you, brother, I just wanted to ask Pat if you'd be comfortable, respectfully enough to discuss it, only if you can or if you'd like to. The events that occurred on the 6th, you were within the general vicinity of what happened there. Am I correct? Or
well, we stayed down behind the barricades at the Capitol, and we got there before everybody else did, because most people were listening to Trump speak, and
right.
I wasn't so much interested in what he was saying. I was more interested in just being there, because we felt something was going to happen. And as soon as they opened the barricades in front of the Capitol, and about tens of thousands of people poured up the hill, my friends and I all looked at each other and went, "Nope, that smells bad. That smells very bad."
Yeah.
And and then the riot police started hammering the crowd up by the Capitol with stun grenades and tear gas and rubber bullets and everything else. And so eventually all of that just calmed down, and then it was just people standing. We didn't even know people had gone in the building. We were so far. I mean, that building is so far away from the street, because there's so much land going up that hill that you can't see. You literally can't see. So we just assumed people were up on the rotundas, on those levels, those outdoor walkways, just hanging out there. But turns out, yes, people went into the building. But so that was kind of basically what I saw. And then I saw footage of the other side of the Capitol, where the cops had done the same thing and opened the barricades and allowed people in and all that.
Was there
now
oh yeah, sorry, go on.
Well, we saw people that were obviously either Antifa or who they were, paid agitators, who were within the crowd of, we saw two guys with black outfits on with backpacks with baseball bats hanging out of them. Mm-hmm. And everybody, I go, "Where's the game at, guys?" Nobody, they were trying to get people to attack them. They were, it was just, but turns out.
Sorry, Pat. Sorry, but before you go on, I just wanted to ask very quickly, because you brought up the agitators there. Is there anything that you would like to say, or that you'd be willing to say, that is totally different from what the media is saying that you saw yourself? Like, did you see what? Again, I guess we can't confirm it, but did you have a good idea? Like, you're a very street smart guy, common sense guy. Did you see anyone there that was not a Trump supporter that looked like they knew what was going to happen?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, several. So now there's footage coming out later on, of the first people into the Capitol building were all dressed in black, definitely not Trump supporters, all that sort of stuff. And now there's reports coming out that the FBI had people dressed in black that were part of the agitators and everything else. And look,
there's reports on that.
Yeah. So there's reports coming out on that. Look, I've been to Quantico and I've trained the FBI instructors, right? I've got friends in the FBI. I've trained high-level military people. I've trained, I believe that there are still, the vast majority are patriots within the FBI and other agencies. But look, for whatever reason, somehow the people at the top, the FBI director saying that there were absolutely no signs of any Antifa at the Capitol building. And I got asked that, what are your thoughts about that? And I said, I certainly don't think he's being truthful. And look, and he's, I'm sure, being forced to say that, and that's the way it is. But, I mean, most of the people that were there were not people, and there was almost, I'm guessing 750,000 to 1 million people were there.
Wow.
If there was an insurrection, the building would have been destroyed, right? If there was people there to cause violence or to do anything like that, we all know that there would have been, DC would have been in flames and it would have been in rubble. With 1 million people there, for an insurrection, that's a 1 million man army. They all would have been carrying guns, which I'm sure some were. But they weren't using them, right?
Right.
So, the media's ability to drum people up into, and I've had tons of messages on social media and all kinds of stuff. You're a traitor. You're a white supremacist. You're a domestic terrorist, and all this other stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, because the media got them drummed up into this bullshit narrative, and then that false story that went out about me. And I said, I've said numerous times, I've been involved in this sport for 30 years.
Right.
If I'd ever said or written anything remotely racist, don't you think it would have got published?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's so I just, you got to get recognize the enemy you're dealing with. They're all about lies. They're all about deceit. They're all about optics, false optics, everything else. So, one way or another, you just have to see through all the bullshit and help people, hopefully ascend to a higher level of intelligence.
Yeah.
And realize, look around themselves and go, yeah, okay. It's dawning on me. Like I said, all those people that are huge Trump fans, I can't confirm or deny either way 100% that Donald Trump wasn't who he said he was. But when you've not fired Fauci, you push the vaccine, you bring in BlackRock to handle the Federal Reserve and Treasury. If it quacks like a duck, walks like a duck, probably a duck.
Right. I see a lot of people seem to have had that revelation recently too, especially with BlackRock, like with what you said there. I mean, especially with BlackRock's ties to, the Mossad and all that stuff. That's clearly not necessarily clean cut stuff all the time. But
Right.
What's interesting too, I wanted to mention, I'm not sure if you heard about this, but allegedly the YouTube and all these major social media sites would not let footage from the 6th be posted, but CNN, NBC, MSNBC, all those guys used that footage from everyone's cell phones because they did not have camera people there.
Well, they did have camera people there, and they did have John Sullivan in there, who got paid by CNN and I believe one other station, maybe CBS, for that footage, right? And
Sullivan so they did have people in there.
100%. And another photographer from CNN who was being paid to be there, and she was inside the building. And Sullivan's been seen speaking at Black Lives Matter rallies with Black Lives Matter shirts on. Those are the operatives that are paid, whether it's Antifa events, whether it's Black Lives Matter events, whether it's a Trump event at the Capitol. It's all about optics and creating division. And I hate those Black Lives Matter people because they looted and burned downtown. I hate Antifa because they looted and burned downtown and were attacking innocent pedestrians and people driving cars. Oh, I hate those Trumpers. They broke into the Capitol and it was an attempted insurrection, right? That's all it's about. It's all about division. And if the American people, were to come together and all suddenly realize what's happening, that's when the government goes, oh shit, right?
Well, it seems like they're playing both sides against the middle, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
Camden, brother, you wanted to jump in?
I did, yeah. I was going to. So Trump. One of the most confusing things about Trump for me, especially right now, is the way that he endorses these vaccines so heavily. It doesn't. The QAnon's spin of it is, I'm not a subscriber to QAnon necessarily at all, but their spin of it is that like a lot of these vaccines are now going to be placebos, so that it doesn't make sense to me why he would act the way he does about the vaccines.
Well, look, you could say it two ways, and it's easy to explain both ways.
Okay.
Whether you're a believer of QAnon or not, which I fully believe that that's a psyop just to placate and keep people who are constitutionally minded, sitting in their houses, twiddling their thumbs, waiting.
Trust the plan.
Right. So, is Trump saying it because he wants people to get it, or is he saying it so that people go, yeah, that's reverse psychology, right? Okay. Don't go near it. Don't go near it.
Sure.
So I could see it being believed by both sides of the aisle and however they want to do it. Is he saying it to make even people who lean far left go, if Donald Trump's backing it, we probably shouldn't get it?
I mean, fair point. Absolutely fair point.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's the thing is, I've gotten to the point where, on 9/11, when all that stuff happened, until I started to investigate and had a couple conversations with close friends, when 9/11 happened, I'm like, hell yeah, go get those terrorists. Let's go blow up Afghanistan.
Right.
Let's do this. Let's do that.
Right.
Rah, rah, rah. And I had even done a USO tour over in Afghanistan. Dan Henderson and I went over. And I love our troops. No matter what the cause of the war is, I love our troops because, look, those are people that have essentially signed their name on the dotted line to ultimately give up their life if they have to for their country, right? So I've always been endeared to our first responders, military, all those people, and I have great respect for people that have the balls to sign their name on the dotted line to do that, right? That's a higher level of person in my book. But that's the thing, is that I started researching. One of my friends said, have you looked into Halliburton? Have you looked into Cheney and the Bush family and their connections to Halliburton and all of these other things? And I started researching that. That's when I knew something was off, but that's when I went, yeah, we're dealing with criminals on both sides of the aisle, through and through.
Right. Now, speaking of which, I wanted to ask before wrapping this up a little bit, China, Russia, what are the odds? Very straightforward question. What are the odds the West gets into some form of ground war or asymmetrical warfare? I mean, we can argue now we're already in one in the cyber world with them, but what do you think the odds are that something manifests physically?
Well, I don't necessarily think that any country, because it's run by globalists, right?
Right.
So Chinese companies own a ton of stuff in America. There's Americans that own a ton of stuff all over the world, the globalists. There's a ton of people from, the Bank of England, the Rothschilds and many others. They own stock in companies that have stuff facilities all over the world, including China. Why would they want to blow the shit out of their own infrastructure, right?
Yeah.
When you could just release,
yeah,
Operation Warp Speed. Let's get you all, boop. Let's get you the boop, and then suddenly the population starts to decline, massively, and achieve what they want. Look, if you were one of the wealthiest families in the world, one of the most powerful families in the world, and you looked at your children and you were an evil son of a bitch, and you said, what would I want for my kid? They have they got a collection of Rolls Royces, they've got mansions they can go to, they can go anywhere in the world they want, they can get on my private jet, do whatever they want. What would I want to give them? No, yeah. I know what I'd give them. Control of the entire planet.
Right. And just continue that power structure.
Yeah.
Now the next,
with far less population, putting a strain on resources, hey, you got a pretty easy life, right?
Exactly. I wanted to get your perspective as well, sir, on UFOs. I mean, I asked you about this last year, I believe, but lots happened since then in the public domain. Some people say it's pure distraction. Others say that it's a slow increment of what's coming. But of course, many people say, guys like Lou Elizondo and stuff, once CIA, once intelligence agents, always intelligence agents. From your personal perspective, what do you think of the UFO phenomenon? Do you think it's alien, or you think it's underground, or you think it's human? And what do you think of the way the media is pushing it?
Well, again, I've said that the people that are in control right now, in my mind, aren't even human.
Right.
So I can't be for sure, but I can say that there's a reason there's a huge uptick in, the Pentagon and Department of Navy and everybody else telling us, they can confirm that UFOs do exist. Former head of Israeli Air Force and space programs and stuff, saying that aliens have been among us for many years, and they probably have been. To think that we're the only intelligent life form in the universe, that's pretty naive to think that. But when Trump, I don't know if Trump had said this when I was on. Biden was already in office when I talked to you guys last.
I believe, actually, no, I think it was just before the election, because because the 6th hadn't happened at that point. So forgive me, it's my mistake.
Okay, so when Trump was sitting in the Oval Office and he had the head of Space Force, the general, standing next to his desk, and when I heard this, I went, well, okay,
yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
Do you remember what Trump said?
No, I kind of got that same feeling you had, because I thought Space Force would have happened regardless of who was in there. But what did he say?
Sure, it would have. But Trump said, well, Space Force, we need to be protected, and we've got missiles that are 17 times faster than any missile we've ever created. I call them super duper missiles. And he looks up at the general and goes, super duper missiles, right, General? And the general goes, yes, sir, Mr. President, super duper missiles. Trump looks back at the camera and goes, see, super duper missiles. So I went, okay, Space Force, confirmation of UFOs, super duper missiles. Okay, they've divided the world in such an extreme way. How do you bring the world back together and unite the world into a new world order?
Right.
There's nothing better than either false flag or real alien attacks on major cities around the world.
Right.
And everybody goes, rah, 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 let's kill those green bastards. I'm on board, right? And I'm going to be sitting back laughing going, I'll be out by the river catching fish and watching you dumb bastards, run around with your hair on fire, right?
Right. makes sense. So you would say it's I mean, in your personal opinion, you don't need to have evidence to support this, but you generally have been majority of the time you've been correct, very, very accurately. Would you say in your gut it's aliens, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, can you think of a better way to bring the entire world together?
Yeah, it's a good point.
That's all I can say. It's tough to think up a better way to have everybody on the same team, than another world. It's Earth. It's the first Earth Bowl, us versus the whatever.
Right. It makes perfect sense. Now, again, I wanted to thank you so much for coming on, but before we end it, please tell the audience, of course, myself, I'm pretty knowledgeable in it, about this product, Black Oxygen. I can just tell everyone I've taken it myself. I'm not being paid to say this at the moment or anything like that. And it's actually done so many great things for me. Physically, it's helped me much more with my intermittent fasting, things like that. So what else could you say about it that you would encourage people, especially now when people don't know, with the virus and the vaccine and all that?
Well, people can look up Senate document 264. And that was from a hearing where doctors and scientists sat in front of the Senate and basically gave testimony of our soils in 1936 had been so depleted that this was contributing to many of the illnesses that Americans were dealing with back in 1936. So that tells you how depleted our soil is now.
Right.
So no matter what food you're putting in your body, you're not getting the nutrients your body is supposed to have for optimum operating systems, for athletic performance, for fighting off diseases. And we've seen so many autoimmune diseases and 600,000 heart attacks a year kill people. Asthmas, COPDs, diabetes. It's all exploding. Everyone is sick.
Right.
Especially as they get older. So these are the nutrients from what Mark St. Onge is the guy that formulated this. He tested numerous bogs, dozens upon dozens of bogs in Canada, and found the one that was the most nutrient rich, and it has a 5-foot sediment layer, 40 feet under the mud, that is 1,500 different types of plants that have decomposed for 60,000 years. So that's where all the concentrated nutrients are of 60,000 years of decomposition.
Wow.
So they suck that up out of the ground. They use a CO2 pressurized process and a freeze drying process to concentrate it into a powder. You only need half a teaspoon measuring spoon twice a day in a bottle of water, shake it up, drink it. It adds 45% more oxygen at a cellular level, not in your blood, at a cellular level. And it also carries nutrients into the cell, delivers it to the mitochondria, which turns that into fuel to create energy, because the mitochondria is the furnace of the cell. Then on the way out of the cell, it chelates. So it drags heavy metals and toxins out of the cell, which are making you sick. That's how disease starts in the first place, and creates an alkaline environment where disease cannot exist. And then on top of that, it resets your gut bacteria, your gut flora, which without that, you can't be healthy. It cleans off your intestinal walls so that you can absorb nutrients again. And then this is one of the bigger ones that people really freak out on, is it completely resets your hormonal system. So the vast majority of adults have huge thyroid problems.
Right.
People selling Viagra are making big money because men's hormones are all screwed up from the toxins that are in them.
Right.
And, so I've got middle-aged guys going, hey, man, they've been on it for 2-3 months, and they go, hey, does it help with, and I go, you're waking up with ardons again, huh? And they're like, yeah, dude. I said, yeah, that's part of your hormonal system. And I had a friend of mine, a lady in her 50s, who had really bad thyroid issues, but she also had dangerous levels of estrogen. And what people don't realize is that shampoos, skin lotions, deodorants, all these different unnatural ones, unorganic ones, lower testosterone and raise estrogen levels.
Right.
Just the drug atrazine, and it's real, you can look it up, converts male frogs to female frogs. So when you call someone, or you hear people saying soy boys, the feminine men, that's what's happened is over these years, their estrogen levels have dropped considerably or gone up considerably, and their testosterone is lowered. So anyway, she had blood tests done before she got on black oxygen. Her estrogen level was at 417, which put her in a very high risk for stroke and heart attacks. And so she got on black oxygen. She went back and got blood tests again, and her estrogen level went from 417 down to 17.2.
Whoa.
So that's what's happening. It's resetting the hormonal system inside the human body, and people are starting to go, okay, I'm all of a sudden I'm feeling normal again, right?
Right. Yeah. So it basically
and it's totally organic and plant based. It resets everything about your body.
Right. Okay. And it's pill form, powder form, or both?
You can get tablets or you can get the powder. I tell people to get the powder because it lasts longer, and it costs $110, but it lasts for 50 days basically if you take it as prescribed. So it's $2 a day.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. People spend more on coffee.
Yeah, $2 a day to totally change your outlook on life. And I've seen it with people's health over and over and over again. I can't say that this treats, cures, or prevents anything, okay, any disease or sickness, because it's not approved by the FDA, but it is approved by Health Canada, which is very stringent, and people are going to get benefits. So if you have ailments, if you have parents that are sick, children that are sick, give it to them for 2 months straight, twice a day as recommended, and it's got a money back guarantee. If you do that and it doesn't work, hey, get your money back, right? But I've never seen anything like this in all my years of taking supplements, because it's not a supplement. It's the concentrated fulvic and numic minerals and acids from 60,000 years of 1,500 decomposing plants. The shit that's supposed to be in our body in the first place that our soil is not giving us anymore.
So basically, not only does it help with, it seems like, the mental aspect of things with, libido and things like that, but even, would you say muscle growth as well too? And I ask that because I've done some training sessions myself, and I've noticed, again, not like, for example, my muscles have gone from jello to, being rock hard, but I've noticed a much more quicker progression in my training.
Yeah, because the cell regeneration is happening much faster because of the nutrients and the level of oxygen, and the fact that you're able to actually train harder because your muscles are not running out of gas. Anything that you put it, if you get a high level, I take a high level amino acid with it now, and a greens 85 from Chemical Free Body, because black oxygen has 60 times its carrying weight going in and out of the cell. It'll carry those other supplements that you're taking directly, and you're going to get the benefit of that. It's going to optimize whatever it is you're putting in your body.
Got you. Awesome. Well, Pat, brother, thank you so much for coming on once again. And we will, could you tell everybody where they could find you, Instagram, Twitter, any of that stuff?
Yeah, they can find me at PJ Militich on Instagram. They can find me at theconspiracyfarm.com, any of our episodes. And they can find the product, which you're going to be releasing that soon. You're going to start selling it here pretty soon, hopefully, right?
Yeah, exactly. Actually, starting this evening is the goal.
Okay, so you'll be able to put out your link with every episode now, and people can now come directly to you and get the product. So that's a good thing.
Awesome. Thank you so much, sir, for coming on. Thank you for your time, and we'll talk very, very soon.
All right, brother.
Thank you.